Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and continuing on, of course, for me to review some of my all-time favorite films. And yes, that's right, you read the title, you know exactly what the next favorite movie of mine it is that I'm reviewing. Yes, and as I teased in the last review video, I'm sure a lot of you probably figured it out, so yes, that's right. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that when I first saw this, when I watched it fully, I kind of had a feeling that, man, that this would be another one of my top favorite movies, and it is. Yeah. That's right, guys. I am finally reviewing from 2010, the remake done by the one and only Coen brothers, True Grit. Yes. 2010's True Grit. Again, by the Coen brothers. Oh, man. Now, no hard feelings on some of my other favorite films, but 2010's True Grit is definitely one that I was really looking forward to review and talk about and such. And yeah, because you're watching my review on it right now. Yeah. Man, I love 2010's True Grit. What the Coen brothers brought to this amazing, really good movie remake, and no hard feelings on the first True Grit movie from 1969, which I had seen. I actually saw the original True Grit before I saw the remake. And I've, of course, done my review on the original True Grit, if you want to go check that out. But yeah, and a good thing, because I reviewed that before, as of now, and you're watching it right now, I'm reviewing the True Grit remake, yeah. I think for a lot of people, and that, of course, goes for me, they would cite and favor the remake. Again, no hard feelings on the original. The original from 1969 with John Wayne, it is fantastic. It's a movie masterpiece. It made film history, movie western history. You get my point, yeah. But, of course, with the 2010 True Grit film, you know, there's just something about it, and what the Coen brothers brought to this, and how it stays very close to the original novel. Because, you know, if you've read the original novel of True Grit, well, basically, because, yeah, there's a lot of dark stuff in the novel, and with what's incorporated into the remake. Now, granted, the original True Grit, it does have some dark stuff to it, just some, not that much. But the original is more lighthearted and heroic and such, and because you have John Wayne, you know. But man, did the Coen brothers really go at it with adding in so much great dark stuff to this, and golly, the movie's ending, totally different from the original. But of course, until I talk about the ending. Yeah. I'm glad to had finally watch this, because, you know, one of the first times that I watched this was with my mom, and, well, watching this, and I fell in love with it instantly, from beginning to end, yeah. And like I said, the True Grit remake being one of my top favorite films, yeah. It's amazing, and I'm sure you guys would feel the same way too, that you would favor the remake, right? But again, no hard feelings to the original, because there's no competition. Both True Grit movies are fantastic, but overall, it's the remake that takes the frosting on top of the cake, you know, that whole thing. But yeah, just overall, True Grit from 2010, it's fantastic. With the Coen brothers directing this, with a great cast, the dark stuff that's included in the remake, and with the film's ending, just, yeah. You know, not to mention that True Grit was one of those movies that got Oscar nominated, not a single win. Why? I mean, I guess it's obvious that it more than likely would not have won Best Picture, but still, from Jeff Bridges and Haley Steinfeld, and this being Haley Steinfeld's first Oscar nomination, I think it would have been a total deserved win and such. It's like, best example, young Anna Paquin won an Oscar for The Piano. Why couldn't the same, but, sometimes, you just never know who's going to win and such, and it all comes down to one who will win, just, you get what I'm saying, but it would have been nice. And the other Oscar nominations it got, just maybe, like, a single Oscar they should have gotten, just not even one. That's a shame. Like, and here's another thing. I would take this over, say, I don't know, The King's Speech or Black Swan. I'm just saying, no hard feelings on those other films that got Oscar nominated and they won some. Come on, True Grit should have at least won one Oscar. I don't know, but it's how it happened. It's one of those things, but, at least it still got nominated. And besides, it was really good. What more do I have to say? True Grit from 2010, really good. Okay, so now, and as always, for me, read the description / the story. After an outlaw named Tom Chaney murders her father, feisty 14-year-old farm girl Maddie Ross hires Rooster Cogburn, a boozy, trigger-happy lawman, also, he's a marshal, to help her find Chaney and avenge her father. The bickering duo are not alone in their quest, for a Texas Ranger named LaBeef is also tracking Chaney for reasons of his own, because, to go ahead and mention this in case I don't forget to mention it later on, basically Chaney killed a senator in Texian senator and such, from Texas, of course, but anyways. Together, the unlikely trio ventures into hostile territory to dispense some Old West justice. Okay, so, with that out of the way, getting into the film itself, because, already, the start of this movie, and in comparison to the original True Grit, the opening to this movie is completely different. We already see the lifeless body of Maddie Ross's father. And there's a bit of narration that we get from, an older Maddie Ross, and we would hear her do some narration at the very end of the movie, but of course until I get there. And Fort Smith, that being the location of the town where Maddie's father sadly got shot and killed by Tom Chaney. And as we all know, because, Mr. Ross, trying to help out Tom Chaney and such, and according to Maddie Ross, but him just being a drunk, evil, bad guy and such, didn't care, just, flat out murdering Mr. Ross and such, because how, delusional he is and such. But and pretty sure, because he would be credited, but probably more likely uncredited, but, Mr. Ross, but, anyways. And, we get the introduction of one of our main characters, that of course being young Maddie Ross, and young Maddie Ross being played by the one and only beautiful, talented Haley Steinfeld. Yep. And, by the way, the True Grit remake being Haley Steinfeld's first movie, and this being her feature film debut. Because before this, the acting that she was doing, she did a couple of, TV shows, most notably, her very first acting job was in the Kelsey Grammer sitcom Back to You. She was in one episode and such, and she did a few short films, and eventually, up to when she would audition and win the part of Maddie Ross. And this is what, kicked her into high gear, pretty much. Yep. And Maddie Ross, I'll go ahead and say this, because, Maddie Ross in the remake, she's so good. She's so good. her being 14 years old, and man, the dialogue that she has, and she's a hard-hitting negotiator, setting those straight and, you know, negotiating over money and such, especially like when she would talk with Colonel Stonehill, until I mention that a little later, but yeah. Maddie Ross, and whom accompanying her just right at the opening, we don't see him again afterwards, Yarnell, being played by Roy Lee Jones, and, you know, because the black guy, and who we would see that character in the original, yeah, because Yarnell accompanying Maddie to, you know, retrieve the lifeless body of her late father, and who's in a coffin, and the money arrangements and such, and with, you know, his body being transferred back to Yell County, her hometown and such, and, well, her planning to, you know, get Tom Chaney to be brought in and such, and, you know, wanting to see him be hung and so on, and seeking vengeance, you know, towards her late father, and trying to talk with the sheriff, and there's a hanging ceremony happening, an execution and such, of 3 men, and, well, when Maddie talks with the sheriff, well, the sheriff has not been... the sheriff confirms to Maddie that, well, Tom Chaney has not been brought in yet, and he's in Indian Territory, and no luck for them to try to find Tom Chaney. And the sheriff, being played by Leon Russom, yeah. And then Maddie asks, and, well, could there be a marshal? Like, you know, she's talking and asking the sheriff, you know, if there's any marshals that can help out with this. One of them, most notably, that he mentions, and this intrigues Maddie, is, well, Rooster Cogburn. She's fascinated and intrigued by this Rooster Cogburn, and gets the sense of feeling that he's her man for the job. And the first encounter she has with Rooster Cogburn, trying to talk with him and such, and her you know, and she would become an employer and such, you know, to him, etc. He's in an outhouse. God. So that doesn't go well at first, their first encounter, and when she tries to talk with him, seeking help. And, well, she stays at, you know, in Fort Smith for a while. She has no intentions of going back to Yell County for a while. She stays at a boarding house, and, well, there's only one room available, but even before she stayed at a boarding house, she stayed at the place where the coffins are and the lifeless bodies. She had no problem sleeping there for the night until she made her way to the boarding house. Also, yes, the sequence where you know, she interacts with the Colonel Stonehill, and Colonel Stonehill in this being played by Dakin Matthews, if I'm saying that right, pretty sure. Again, you know me sometimes. Again, her really getting to him and setting him straight, and the negotiation that she does, you know, talking out about money, and also she's wanting to return these ponies to Stonehill. Because before her father died, Stonehill sold these ponies to Mr. Ross, but as of now, Maddie wants the ponies to be returned back to him, and also the mentioning of her late father's saddle, and a gray horse, and golly, just, yeah. It's a really good sequence, and how Maddie is not giving up, and she's one tough cookie. Oh yeah, because even with her being 14 years old, she's definitely someone you don't want to mess with. And at a certain point, Stonehill, I think it's obvious, he becomes quite scared of little Ross. Yeah, 14-year-old Maddie Ross. But yeah, eventually she succeeds, and she got to him, and getting the saddle back of her late father. And when staying at the boarding house, yeah, the boarding house landlady, being played by Candice Hinkle, if I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, pretty sure. Well, it's pretty funny because, you know, the room that, that Maddie stays in with, you know, the grandma or, you know, that character and such, Maddie is being disturbed by her because, man, she's a loud snorer and taking half of, almost the entirety of the sheets, you know? It's funny. But eventually, when Maddie tries to find, meet, and interact and talk with Rooster Cogburn, well, Rooster Cogburn is in this court session, and, you know, from the lawyers, like, yeah, cross-examining lawyer being played by Joe Stevens, and first lawyer being played by David Lippman, and Judge Parker being played by Jake Walker. Basically, this whole thing about, you know, these two, like, brothers and such, Cogburn shooting one of them, like, that whole sequence and that court session, really good, and, you know, with, you know, one of the lawyers, like, trying to get to Cogburn, and, you know, if Cogburn is lying, and so on, but I don't think so, no, because I think it's obvious that, you know, with what, the best he can say, and also the mentioning of how many men he shot, 14 or 15, so, but yeah, overall that was a pretty good sequence. And when finally, Maddie got to meet with Rooster, and after the court hearing and such, well, Maddie, telling Rooster about, Tom Chaney, and, he's the best marshal that she can think of hiring for this job, and, even Maddie helping Rooster with, him trying to, you know, make a cigarette and so on, you know, roll it up, that whole thing. And even the gun that Maddie has that was once her father's, and Rooster's very, very familiar with that type of gun. But Rooster, he's not interested at first and such, even telling Maddie to go home and such, but nope, Maddie is still not giving up on that. So, you know, didn't go really well at first, but eventually he would, of course, join in, even if, you know, he's being forced upon and Maddie's not going to take no for an answer, you know. And when Maddie heads back to the boarding house, well, she encounters someone on the porch, you know, a very strange, odd man who they make a bit of eye contact, and he's smoking his pipe. And Maddie asks the landlady, you know, of the boarding house, if there's another room that she can take. And there technically is another room, but it was already taken by the strange man that outside of the porch that Maddie just encountered. So now Maddie is sleeping in the same room with the grandmother character, snoring once again and taking all the sheets, you know, the entirety of the sheet. But then the next morning, Maddie being the only one in bed, and she's awakened, seeing that in the same room with her is the strange man that she saw last night. And, yeah, enter LaBeef, the Texas Ranger, being played by the one and only Matt Damon. Yes, and, you know, here's the thing, because, to some people, probably, Matt Damon doesn't seem like an actor, you know, someone that you can see in a Western. He definitely seems like, you know, he wouldn't fit in a Western. But I think, in my opinion, and you know what, I'm probably right, and maybe you guys feel the same way too, he totally works and fits in this Western movie. He totally does, yeah. I mean, with his wardrobe, his getup, and, you know, his personality and what he brings to the character of LaBeef in the remake, he totally works in this Western, without a doubt. Now, you know, I would kind of picture him and see him, maybe like, say, in another Western, and I'm sure he'd be good at it. But definitely, True Grit is perfect for him. This is the Western that really fit him like a glove, practically perfect in every way. Yeah, so LaBeef introducing himself to Maddie, and he too is after the man she's after, Tom Chaney, and Tom Chaney going by a different name. Yeah, because Theron, yeah, that's the first name, Theron. Theron Chaney, but, you know, still, like, you know, I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce the last name, you know, the other last name he goes by. Again, you know me sometimes, but yeah, that's another name he goes by. First name being Theron, but yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, because LaBeef's reasons for trying to capture and bring in Tom Chaney, again, he killed a senator, you know, from Texas and such. Again, he's a Texas Ranger. He comes from Texas. And not to mention that he actually was in Yell County, and he met and interacted with Maddie's mother, and Maddie's mother insisting that she come back to Yell County, but Maddie, she's not going to, because she's going to do whatever it takes to capture Tom Chaney and such. Well, so is LaBeef. And I tell you, the first interactions that LaBeef and Maddie have, just, oh my gosh, and the type of talk that Maddie gives at 14 years old into LaBeef, and even LaBeef, you know, mentioning and threatening to Maddie that he would give her a whipping. Just, and the mentioning of Cowlick. It's funny. But eventually, because, well, when Maddie once again meets with Rooster Cogburn and how much money he's going to give Rooster for the capturing of Tom Chaney, well, yeah, once again, she's one tough cookie in how she negotiates and makes deals and offers, you know, bargaining, you know, with money. Just, she's so good at that. And by the way, because the Asian guy, you know, in the place that Tom Chaney lives, of course we have that too. So, nice to see. And also, when Maddie would once again meet with Stonehill, and, well, she would require a pony. And once again, because her getting to Stonehill and Stonehill being nervous and, you know, a bargaining and such, you know, so good. And yeah, so Maddie, she gets a horse of her own, a pony, and she names it Little Blackie. Yep. And just like in, you know, like in the novel, of course, and in the original movie, yep, because the black horse and such, Little Blackie. And, well, she's preparing, and when the next day hits, gearing herself up, and even early on, there were mentionings of Maddie's lawyer, even directed at Stonehill, that she's got a really good lawyer, as she says. And interestingly enough, in the remake, we never see Maddie's lawyer. We only hear his voice because at one point, Maddie received a letter from her lawyer, J. Noble Daggett. And his voice would be very recognizable. And again, even though we don't see him on screen still. But I can, like, could you imagine, like, he'd obviously wear a fancy suit and such. Yeah. The voice of J. Noble Daggett, we only hear his voice. The letter that he left for Maddie, you know, the mentioning of, you know, her mother and so on, you know, what he wrote in the letter. The one and only J.K. Simmons. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, J.K. Simmons being a Lucky Charm, yeah, of the Coen brothers. You know, not to mention because, you know, like, I most notably know because, you know, J.K. Simmons was in another remake film that the Coen brothers did, which, by the way, being their first one, and that being The Lady Killers. Yeah, The Lady Killers, which I have seen, done my review on, if you want to go check that out. You know, I gave it some positive things to say, and, yeah, it may not have been the best remake film, and that being the Coen brothers' first remake film, but, you know, still. But thankfully, you know, when True Grit came along, they did the remake of that. That was a good one, yeah, but just wanted to throw that out. And, well, because of J.K. Simmons, the Coen brothers, it's acceptable. But anyway, so again, J.K. Simmons, who does a cameo voice as J. Noble Daggett, and I wonder, because you'd recognize his voice too, right? When first watching the movie and you heard the voice of Maddie's lawyer, and we hear the voice of him and what he wrote in the letter, did you know that it was J.K. Simmons as well? Let me know in the comments section. I'd love to know. Anyways, so, yeah, again, Maddie gearing up and such, and she even had to put something in the hat that she was wearing, like newspapers, so it can, like, stand up and such, because it was covering her eyes, almost. And she also, taking her father's gun, taking some apples for Little Blackie to snack on. But when she would meet with Rooster Cogburn, by this point he already left. And he also left a note for her, a little letter, that by the time she would read this, he would already be on his way capturing Tom Chaney. But yeah, that doesn't satisfy Maddie. She's still not going to take no for an answer. And even early on, almost forgot to mention that she definitely was going to tag along with Rooster Cogburn, her to witness this herself and to be there to capture Tom Chaney. But Rooster wasn't having any of it. When Maddie finally catches up to Rooster, he's across the river. He's with someone else. And we find out that he's partnering up with LaBeef. Yeah, when did this happen? Well, somehow, LaBeef, well, he knew, of course, that the Marshal, Cogburn, was he too going after Tom Chaney, so secretly LaBeef, met with Cogburn, and thus, them partnering up to go after Tom Chaney without Maddie at first. And yeah, Maddie, even escaping from the one guy who, helped them get across the river, escaping from him, and Little Blackie, because Little Blackie and Maddie Ross, because, them trying to swim and get across the river, which they succeed. And by the way, because you realize that not long after she and Matt and Lil Blackie crossed the river, they'd be dry already. Her clothes and the horse. Just, yeah. And Rooster and LaBeef, because they're really not having any of this. Even LaBeef, it happens, yeah. LaBeef giving Maddie a whipping. And, Rooster, he just sits there on his horse. He allows this just for a little bit, but at a certain point, yeah, this can't go on for forever. And yeah, LaBeef probably enjoying this too much, yeah. And it's just like in the original True Grit film. And yeah, Rooster, whipping his gun, pointing it at LaBeef, and yeah, enough's enough. And well, no other choice but, that Maddie is tagging along with them, whether if they like it or not, yeah. Whether they like it or not, she is tagging along. Again, taking no for an answer. So yeah, their journey in the Indian Territory and their destination to try and find Tom Chaney, well, doesn't go too well at first. I mean, when at one point they camp for the night, and the interactions and dialogue that each Rooster and LaBeef have, yeah, they don't get along that well that evening. And even when the next day hits. Even at one point, when the next day hits, LaBeef and Rooster, they're still going at it, and LaBeef, because, the things that they say towards one another and their background and such, at that point, LaBeef, he goes on his merry little way, doing this on his own, and it's basically whom is going to get to Tom Chaney first, to best put at it. And yeah, so now it's just Maddie and Rooster who are going after Tom Chaney, while LaBeef, he does this on his own. Yeah. What happens next to Rooster and Maddie? Well, because, first off, because what they would encounter, like at one point they encounter a hanging body. Rooster may be familiar with this man. It's not Tom Chaney, like they think maybe it's Tom Chaney, but it's not, and Maddie has to climb up the tree because they hung this guy way high up on a branch, because it's a very tall tree. She has to climb up, and then, she has to cut the rope. And wouldn't you know it, Rooster is not familiar with this man. And then an Indian guy shows up. We don't hear what they say, but he takes the body with him, probably for an exchange and so on. And then, at one point, they encounter one of the memorable moments. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that happens in the remake. The Bear Man. Yeah. And what we know about the Bear Man, just a little, is that he's a dentist and such. Yeah. Dental surgeon. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, because he has the same lifeless body. He has the same lifeless body that the Indian guy had. And, because the Bear Man was pretty interesting. And the Bear Man kind of helping out Rooster and Maddie some. And, yeah. Also, not to mention that there's someone else that's in this. And possibly in connections with Tom Chaney. and that being Lucky Ned Pepper. Yeah, the mentioning of Lucky Ned Pepper, whom Rooster is very familiar with, and possibly there's a connection with Lucky Ned Pepper and Tom Chaney that probably, yeah, they're working alongside with one another. And early on, because Rooster and Maddie, they stopped at this location, Bagby's store, to get some information about Lucky Ned Pepper. And golly, because Rooster, he was being very harsh to the two Indian youths at Bagby's, just, shoving them, pushing them and such off of, the porch and so on. Even, cutting a rope of a horse that they were, holding on to. Just, yeah. What's his beef with the two Indian youths? I don't know. We don't know. Just, yeah. But again, the information he got at the Bagby's store about Lucky Ned Pepper, and also Rooster retrieved a golden piece that belonged to Maddie's late father, and because of this, they'll soon get very close to Tom Chaney. So yeah, again, the whole thing with the guy that was hung and the encounter of the bear man, up to when they come to this cabin, because when they arrive at this cabin, maybe that's where they'll get more information on Lucky Ned Pepper and Tom Chaney and such. Rooster trying to get their attention and having Maddie go on top of the roof to cover the chimney. It doesn't go too well, but, then Rooster telling Maddie to cover the chimney with his coat, and, causing the smoke to build inside of there, and Rooster shooting his rifle at the cabin. One of them does get shot, and eventually, they're let inside of the cabin, and Rooster and Maddie trying to talk out with these two guys, Emmett Quincy, being played by Paul Ray, and Moon, the kid, as he's credited, being played by Domhnall Gleeson, if I'm pronouncing his first name right, a.k.a. Bill Weasley, one of the Weasley brothers, who we would see in Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2, and also, most notably, General Hux in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Yeah, him. But more than that, those are his two most well-known roles that he's played, from the Wizarding World franchise and the Star Wars franchise. So, yeah, anyways. And, before he did that, actually the same year that when True Grit came out, he was in Deathly Hallows Part 1. So that same year, he did True Grit and Deathly Hallows Part 1. A big year for him, definitely. So, yeah. Emmett Quincy, he's not cooperating at all, even getting Moon to shut up, not say anything, and each of them saying that they don't know these two men. But at a certain point, and when Rooster, he's trying to get to them, even Maddie, offering to each of them, and most notably Moon, that she has a lawyer, and, Moon especially could be treated well, because where Moon got shot, he got shot by the leg, the knee, and such. And it doesn't take too long for Maddie to say to Quincy that she doesn't like him, and, hopes that, he gets in jail, and so on. And Moon, at a certain point, he finally gives in. I mean, barely, because when he starts to mention Pepper and Chaney, but for Quincy, what he does next is to get him to shut up by cutting his fingers and stabbing him and such by the chest, neck, and such, and Rooster quickly shooting Quincy in the face, dead instantly. And poor Moon, because he's able to tell them about more information about Pepper and Chaney. And apparently, Pepper and some of his men are going to be showing up later that evening at the cabin. And so what happens next is, and sadly, Moon, he does die. Doesn't make it, unfortunately. Rooster and Maddie, they wait up on the hill, on one of the hills, waiting for Pepper to emerge. But whom shows up at first is LaBeef. LaBeef shows up. But then, even when Maddie says that they have to warn LaBeef on what's going to happen. It's too late because Ned Pepper and some of his men, they show up and, well, we can see, but we can't hear that LaBeef is interacting with Ned Pepper and his men, and it doesn't go too well because they start to rope him, and yeah, and Rooster, saying, well, so much for that, shooting them, even he apparently accidentally shot LaBeef. And yet he was on the ground and he was being dragged, because he was tied to rope. But yeah, but overall, Rooster manages to shoot the entirety of Ned Pepper's men, even when Ned hopped on a horse that was, being driven by one of his other men. But luckily, Rooster, good shot, because he shot the last of Ned's men, and now Ned being the only one that survived and riding on the horse and him fleeing. So yeah, and when they get down, they attend to LaBeef. Even apparently Rooster, he removed some of LaBeef's teeth. Oh, jeez. And, well, Maddie telling Rooster that maybe they should bury the bodies, but the ground is too hard, according to Rooster, and yeah. But, yeah, it's unfortunate because, yeah, they're not able to bury the bodies. And they're just left there. They're just left there, and some of them right up at the front of the cabin. Yeah. Also, to talk more about the characters, because, yeah, big differences with how, they are portrayed in this compared to the original, because most notably, Jeff Bridges, his performance as Rooster Cogburn, yeah, I mean, because it's obvious. With the original True Grit, John Wayne is playing John Wayne, but still, I said this in my review of the original. He is still playing a character. It's just the fact that Rooster Cogburn, played by John Wayne, has John Wayne's personality. Does that make sense? Yeah. And also, here's another good example. Whenever Rooster Cogburn would get drunk, with John Wayne's Rooster Cogburn, it's cute. With Jeff Bridges' Rooster Cogburn, it's scary. Yeah. How he is drunk and just, golly, more intense than the original, but it's understandable. Besides, as I said, and describing the original True Grit, but yeah. Also, because Rooster a couple of times mentioning his ex-wives and his first wife at a certain point leaving him for her first husband, and unfortunately there was no relationship with him and his son. And the son being the son of his first wife, and yeah, she took her son with him, and again, there was no real relationship between father and son, which is a shame. And also, the mentioning of his second wife, because the whole thing of what he said, that his second wife wanted him to be a lawyer, bought him a big book and such, that has to do with being a lawyer, just, yeah. So I like that, it's nice, and with what we get with this version of Rooster Cogburn. Also, I'm pretty sure you would realize this, that Cogburn, his eye patch, it's on this eye, but with the other Rooster Cogburn, John Wayne, it's the other eye. So, anyways. And also, it's nice that, and I don't know about the novel, but basically, my point being is that it's the beard that, and the beard is iconic for Jeff Bridges. At a certain point, it would become iconic for him. That would say a lot of him. Rooster Cogburn sporting a beard in the remake is nice, yeah. And by the way, also, again, as I talked about Maddie Ross, because again, Maddie Ross in the remake, really good. And again, no hard feelings towards the original Maddie Ross. But I think this Maddie Ross and what Hailee Steinfeld brought to the performance of Maddie Ross in the remake, really good. Probably the best Maddie Ross. Yeah. Also, fun fact, one of Hailee Steinfeld's favorite movies is Big Lebowski, another Coen Brothers film, which of course stars Lebowski himself, playing the title character, Jeff Bridges. Lucky her, and I'm sure that when eventually she did watch Big Lebowski, just like, oh my gosh, to having to be a part of a Coen Brothers film starring alongside Lebowski himself, the dude, you see, because I have no doubt about it. Anyways, and like I said about Matt Damon, because, yeah, LaBeef, yeah, total difference from him and, what Glenn Glen Powell brought to the original, but yeah. And to name some of the other cast members, because yeah, like there's Mr. Lee, being played by Peter Leung. Cole Younger, being played by Don Pearl. I already mentioned the lawyers, yeah. Staple Boy, the Staple Boy who helped out Maddie with Little Blackie, being played by Orlando Storm Smart. Ferryman, the ferryman, who was told by Rooster about her being a runaway, but that wasn't really true. Being played by Ty Mitchell, and Repentant Command Man, if I'm pronouncing that right, and Unrepentant Condiment Man, they're both played by Nicholas Sadler and Scott Sowers, and Condiment Indian being played by Jonathan Joss, and Woman at Hanging that Maddie interacted with asking where the sheriff is. She was played by Maggie A. Goodman, and the Indian youths at Bagby's, both being played by Brendan Sanderson and Ruben Naki Companion, if I'm even saying it right, and those who are uncredited, because there's like, say, Coke Hayes being played by Brian Brown, Indian number 6 at Wild West Show, Wild West Show, I'll get to that later, being played by Alan Stan's Alone Bryant, Horseman being played by Andy Anderson, Traveling Lady being played by Mary Anzalone, if I'm saying that right, and also Hanging Witness, being played by Ted Ferguson. Smoker, being played by B.U. Harris. And Horse Rider, being played by Samantha N.U. Hartle. And Dead Body. The Dead Body's credited as well. The Dead Body was played by Benny James. And a bunch of others who are uncredited. But anyways, so back to the film, because, and as I mentioned, Rooster talking about, the mentionings of his ex-wives and so on, but yeah. And also, more background that we get a little on, say, LaBeef and but anyways. So again, after the whole thing that happened at the cabin, those that got shot and killed, and most notably Moon, LaBeef once again tagging along with them for now, and winter approaches a little, and Rooster at a certain point, man, he just goes at it and just being a slob and drunk, and another moment between Rooster and LaBeef, like, them shooting their guns and a bit of target practice, like some things that they throw in the air, and if they can shoot at them, that whole sequence, golly. And then, at a certain point, when they have another camp, Rooster, he calls it quits. He flat out calls it quits out of nowhere. He's done. He doesn't want to continue doing this. Even LaBeef is out of the game as well. Like, seriously, after all this time so far, and it's like they were getting this close, each of them call quits, and, and for LaBeef, his side on this, and Maddie being disappointed in both of them, and, her feeling at first that she got the wrong man, most notably Rooster, and, she was wanting to tag along with LaBeef if he was going to still go after Tom Chaney, but no. And, LaBeef, he rides off, and as for Maddie, she stays behind with Rooster. And what happens next is, the next morning, she's the first to wake up, and she goes down to fetch some water. At least in the remake, she doesn't tumble down. She just, simply just walks down, and, her fetching water. And after all this time, and even though he's one of the main cast of actors, in this, we don't see him until, an hour in the movie, And unlike the original, because, we saw him at the beginning, and when he shot and murdered Mr. Ross. But in the remake, not really. We would only see a glimpse of him riding off in nighttime after he shot Maddie's father. That was it. But we finally see him, Tom Chaney, and Tom Chaney, in the remake, being played by the one and only Josh Brolin, a.k.a. Thanos, but more than that, but still. Yeah. Not to mention this, the True Grit remake does feature a lot of MCU cast members. From Jeff Bridges, who would be in the first Iron Man film, Haley Steinfeld, Kate Bishop, of course, Matt Damon. If anybody does know this, how can you not? Seriously. He's actor Loki. In the two Thor movies, Ragnarok and Love and Thunder, he plays an Asgardian actor who's portraying Loki. Yeah. And of course, Josh Brolin, as I just mentioned, Thanos himself. Yep. But yeah. And, I'm not going to mention him yet, because I mentioned Lucky Ned Pepper, but I'm not going to say his name. Did I see... Maybe, but I don't know. I'll have to check again. But anyway, so yeah, again, we finally see Tom Chaney at the river, and again, being played by Josh Brolin. He recognizes Maddie, and of course, Maddie recognizes him. And also, the mark that Tom has, yeah, because it's mentioned a little, but yeah. And, you know, the remake of True Grit, having some of the same dialogue that, you know, the original True Grit film had, and obviously they come from the book, because, yeah, I know you, you're Maddie, the bookkeeper, and I know you, Tom Chaney, you know, I'm here to arrest you and take you in, the court-martial, just, yeah, and her pretending that, you know, along with Rooster Cogburn, there are 50 other marshals armed and ready, you know, and to bring in Tom Chaney. And Tom Chaney, I mean, he's not falling for this, and he knows that he's going to take Maddie in. And Maddie, well, holding her father's gun, and well, because she actually does shoot him. Yeah, wound him a bit and such. I think, yeah, like right around here, just, you know. And, well, she tries to fire again, but there's no bullet, and, yeah, sure enough, Tom Chaney holds Maddie hostage, but thankfully, Rooster, he wakes up on time, and, well, nice to see that he's technically still helping out Maddie, and, well, he's gonna help Maddie with the situation she's in, and sure enough, Lucky Ned Pepper steps in, and Lucky Ned Pepper being played by Barry Pepper. What a coincidence that both him and his character share the same last name. Yeah, and some of Lucky Ned Pepper's men, well, like, there's, like, say, most notably, did I mention him already? Yeah, Yarnell, Roy Lee Jones, but most notably, Harold Parmalee. He's the one where he's making those animal noises, and that's all he does. He has no speaking lines. And Harold Parmalee, in the remake, being played by Bruce Green. And he, too, is really good. He's good at that character and just making those animal noises. And so was the original actor from the original. Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you know, here's another thing, because, you know, it's hard, for me, it's hard to choose. In my opinion, it's hard to choose on who's better. Which version of the bad guys, you know, from Tom Chaney and the others, you know, from the remake or the original. In my opinion, I'd say both are good, but overall, both True Grit movies are good. Nothing bad about them whatsoever, from beginning to end. Both are masterpieces. Yeah, but anyways, so yeah. Maddie being held hostage and captured by Tom Chaney, Lucky Ned Pepper, and his men, and, well, Lucky Ned Pepper getting Rooster's attention, and Lucky Ned Pepper knows that Maddie's lying and wanting the truth, pinning her down to the ground with his boot, gunpoint at her, and, yeah, getting her to tell the truth that it's just her and one marshal, which being Rooster. Yeah. Ned Pepper knows Rooster very well, and him shouting at Rooster, threatening him, and them making a bargain and deal and such, you know, goes pretty well. Yeah, but yeah. And, well, lucky for Maddie, because, you know, she's not being treated, you know, bad some more by them, and lucky Ned Pepper even telling Chaney to not lay a finger on her. Yeah. And, well, what's going to happen is that Lucky Ned Pepper and his men are going to be going to this old place, as they describe it, and well, Ned Pepper has Chaney to stay behind to keep an eye on Maddie, and, you know, at a certain point, have Chaney along with Maddie to meet up with them. And again, and Ned Pepper tells Chaney that if he lays a finger on the girl, he will not get paid, and so on. Yeah, because Ned will know. But, at a certain point, Chaney seems like he doesn't care. And, even because when Maddie's still setting Chani straight on, him murdering her father, and even when, Mr. Ross was trying to help Chani, but he didn't care. He's coldless, and he doesn't care if he does not get paid because he's about to kill Maddie, and he's about to do so. But thankfully, sure enough, out of nowhere, LaBeef shows up. He shows up, he knocks out Chani with his rifle, and why he's back and how he knows what's going on right now. Well, he heard a gunshot, and apparently, he and Rooster formed a plan and such with what's going to happen right now, because, out in a big, field and such, and just like in the original, open field, basically. Rooster is face-to-face with Lucky Ned Pepper and his men, the big standoff, and, on their horses, and Rooster, and the dialogue that they have, and just like in the original, I call that bull talk from a one-eyed fat man, etc., and, fill your hand, you son of a bitch, and how Jeff Bridges delivers that, how they all deliver their dialogue is really good. And, of course, the standoff and them charging towards one another, and Rooster, with 2 guns, shooting them. He succeeds, and even LaBeef, he's not able to shoot anybody because, they're moving too fast, but Rooster's got this. At least he does, because when it now comes down to just Ned Pepper, they technically shot each other at the same time, only Ned shot Rooster's horse, while Rooster, he shot Ned. He wounded him, and Rooster's having difficulty, trying to get up because the horse is on top of him, because, after getting shot. And Ned Pepper, the last bit of dialogue he has, and when he's approaching and he's almost about to kill Rooster, thankfully, LaBeef, he shoots and guns down and kills Ned Pepper. That's the end of Ned Pepper right there. And all is good until, Chani regains consciousness, he knocks out LaBeef with a rock, and now Maddie uses the gun and such that, LaBeef had, and, she kills. She actually kills Chani, and he actually falls down a cliff and such after he got shot. And as for Maddie, because the force and power from the gun, it causes her to fall down down a cave and so on. And, if you know True Grit, you know where this is going, because, her caught in some thorns and such, and calling out for LaBeef, but he's still knocked out. But thankfully, Rooster steps in, and when she tries to go for a knife, because seeing a corpse and trying to go for a knife, she accidentally discovers that, there lies, and being tucked in, like, the clothing of the corpse is a rattlesnake. And, her panicking, and thankfully Rooster shows up just in time, and, him climbing down, and another thing to point out is that, we saw that Rooster had some rope, just in case if there would be any snakes, and perfect timing because, using the rope to climb down to retrieve Maddie, down the cave, and even when the rattlesnake gets up to her right here and throws it off her, she gets bitten. And, Rooster quick enough to shoot and kill the rattlesnake, cut where the bite is from the rattlesnake, and just, what he does, and helping her out of the cave, and thankfully LaBeef, according to Rooster, he's okay. He's okay. And LaBeef helping them out a little, and the only horse that they can ride on is Little Blackie. And LaBeef, he stays behind. That's the last that they would see of LaBeef. And the last we would see of LaBeef in the movie. And, LaBeef, he's got this. He's got the corpses of the bad guys are there, and, he's got this from here. So, So now Rooster, along with Maddie, she has to be taken to get this treated, and, So, the sequence where they're riding on Little Blackie all throughout the Indian Territory and such, and when they pass by, and she looks at the lifeless bodies of the bad guys, and the long journey they have all throughout the day, and when it gets up to evening time, and even when little Blackie can't handle this, but Rooster's determined for them to get there, and even, like, leaving Rooster no other choice, like, at one point to stab little Blackie by the back with a knife, literally. But then at a certain point, little Blackie collapses. Little Blackie is suffering, and, well, Rooster, there's no alternative, because he puts little Blackie out of her misery. Just, yeah. Yeah, and poor Maddie having to witness that, you know. She had a real connection with the horse, and for little Blackie to die, but, you know, what else could they have done? And that goes for Rooster. And Maddie, she's refusing to go with Rooster and such. But she has to. You know, Rooster is depending to save the girl's life. And eventually, and that long walk that he takes, still determined to get her to where they need to be, which that being Bagby's store. That's where they go, because they're trustworthy, and they can manage to heal and take away the venom and such from the rattlesnake. And yeah, Rooster, he collapses. Yeah, at least they're there and firing off a gun to get their attention, to wake them up. And yeah, that's the last we see of Rooster and young Maddie, because it cuts to black, and we get another bit of narration from older Maddie, and, well, years passed. Now, before I continue, to quickly mention, yeah, of course we know the original ending, we know the ending to the original True Grit, I should say, because, yeah, Maddie, she survives the snake bite, you know, her arm's okay, it's bandaged up, and the last time that Rooster and Maddie would see one another, and Rooster riding off, you know, for more adventures, as any John Wayne movie would end, you know. But in the remake, the movie continues, and the ending takes a dark, depressing turn. Yeah, because after, again, Rooster and Maddie, they made their way to the Bagby store. Again, it cuts to black, years pass, we hear more narration from older Maddie, and yeah, many years later, Maddie, now 40 years old, and Maddie at 40 years old, being played by Elizabeth Marvel, yep, basically, she had not seen Rooster in a long time. However, Rooster did stay with Maddie for quite a while, you know, for her to be healed up and such, and also, Maddie lost her arm. Literally. It became black and such, and yeah, she had to lose the arm. She did. Like, up to here. Yeah, that because it got cut off. Yeah, well, there was no other choice, because, yeah, it wasn't looking good, and yeah, she had, in order for her to survive, it had to be cut, and that's what happened. So, yeah. After that, and after Rooster stayed with her for quite a while, he went off, and that was the last time that she would see him. And she had never heard from Rooster for a long time, even when she wrote a letter to Rooster, still offering him the reward money and so on, inviting him to Yell County, but she never got a reply back, until, at a certain point, she would get a reply. Only this time, the reply that she would get from Rooster is apparently Rooster joined the Wild West show, as I mentioned earlier, and those that, you know, we see at the Wild West show, and, well, wanting to know the whereabouts of Rooster Cogburn. And, well, if he is present at the Wild West show, apparently, when she showed up at the Wild West show, where they are presently performing, apparently Rooster passed away a couple of days ago. And, once again, Maddie making a bargain and negotiations with them, and, you know, wanting to transfer Rooster's body and so on, you know, what she says. And, sure enough, yeah, because Rooster's body being buried, and, well, a little later on, we see Maddie a little older some more, and, well, the last bit of narration we get, and what she says, and, you know, her visiting Rooster's body, and the mentioning of LaBeef, because, well, she also has not heard from LaBeef. And if he's presumed alive and well, he would be in his 70s or 80s, and, you know, she hopes to maybe possibly hear from LaBeef and such. And also, the mentioning that Maddie never married, and she chose not to fool with it. Well, and you know, another important thing to mention is, well, she did, of course, and as I said, you know, in the movie, she did kill Tom Chaney. She got her vengeance of her dad, but it didn't feel good to her, and that's the whole thing. If you get vengeance and so on, it doesn't make you feel comfortable or make you feel good. It makes you feel different and dark and feeling depressed and sad, you know? So that hitting Maddie, so yeah. And, well, after she visits Rooster's grave, she walks off, and the last bit of narration that we get from Maddie, you know, and the mentioning of life and just, yeah. Then the credits roll. That's it. And a really good song that we get, Laying on the Everlasting Arms. That's a really good emotional song. I really like that song. Yeah, and what a way to end off the movie. Just a long shot where Maddie's walking off and the credits roll until it fades to black and the rest of the credits roll, you know. Yeah, again, what a heck of a way to end off the remake right there. Dark, depressing, and there's no real happy ending. And you know, it's amazing. Just, the ending is just satisfying and amazing with how it's done. And again, because it's obvious that the remake staying truthful and close to the book, the novel, yeah, but just, again, what an interesting and good way to end off the film right there with how it's done. Amazing. Yeah. Just, yeah, the True Grit remake is, and if I'm not wrong, it is without a doubt a film remake masterpiece. Again, am I not wrong? Am I not wrong? I don't think I am. Yeah, just everything that was brought to the remake of True Grit, from the story, the Coen brothers' direction, the cast, from, you know, great talents: Jeff Bridges, Haley Steinfeld, Matt Damon, Josh Brolin, and, you know, Barry Pepper, Duncan Matthews, everybody that was in this movie, and the way that this was done, and, you know, the locations, and with the Wild Wild West, the dark moments here and there, the unexpected moments, and moments that just, you know, what's with this? Like, you know, most notably, the bear guy. Yeah, that being a good example. And funny moments that, yeah, are in this. They're pretty good too. And with the same use of dialogue, just like in the original True Grit film, and obviously they come from the novel. Yeah, and the ending to this movie, dark, depressing, no happy ending to it, just, yeah. And the music and score, the song that I just mentioned, you know, Laying on the Everlasting Arms, really good. Just, yeah, everything about the remake of True Grit, everything just to it, fantastic. It's a masterpiece, and I love it. Yeah, one of my other top favorite movies. And again, no hard feelings to the original True Grit. I've made that clear, and you guys, yeah, because it's true, yeah. The original True Grit is really good. It's another movie masterpiece. But when it comes down to, you know, the movie adaptations of True Grit, it's obvious, and it's definitely 2010's True Grit that is the best one. Yeah. But again, both are good, but a lot of people, including me, seem to favorite the one that the Coen brothers did, without a doubt. And I'm giving the True Grit remake, well, is it not obvious? 10 out of 10 stars. Yes. 10 out of 10 stars for the True Grit remake by the one and only Coen brothers. And what about you guys? What did you think of the True Grit remake itself? What the Coen brothers brought to this, and with the cast from Bridges, Steinfeld, Damon, Brolin, Pepper, Matthews, the bear guy, just, yeah, everybody that was a part of this. You know, the Western, the locations, the dark stuff to it, moments that you didn't expect. Like, again, the bear guy, but also, not just the bear guy, but the ending especially. Yeah, how it takes a dark turn, a very depressing ending, just, yeah. Just, yeah, overall, And if you saw this in theaters or on digital, DVD, Blu-rays, yeah. And if you too were disappointed that this did not get a single win at the Oscars, yeah, just again, overall, what do you think of the True Grit remake itself? And with what I've had to say, my review on it, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the True Grit remake. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, there's one more film left for me to review. That's another one of my favorite movies. Stay tuned later tonight, because what I will be reviewing next, well, to best describe it, a fox and a bunny go solve a mystery and a crime and such in a city filled with animals. I'm sure you guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, again, stay tuned for that. Take care, and peace out.